The most dangerous things in the universe are often the ones we cannot see. We are evolved to fear the claw, the tooth, and the shadow. We understand the danger of a falling rock or a rushing river. But there is a specific kind of horror that exists in the subatomic realm. It is a silent, odorless, and tasteless fire. It does not burn the skin. It shreds the very instructions for life inside your cells. In the late 1940s, at the Los Alamos laboratory in New Mexico, a group of the world's most brilliant scientists was playing a game with this fire. They were testing the limits of a 14-pound sphere of plutonium, a core destined for a third nuclear bomb that was never dropped. They called this game tickling the dragon's tail. But after 2 fatal accidents, the sphere earned a new name, a name that reflected the malicious, almost sentient energy it seemed to possess. They called it the Demon Core. Tonight, we are treading into the radioactive darkness. We are looking at the 2 moments when the dragon bit back, and the terrifying, agonizing, clinical reality of what happens when the human body is unbound by radiation. Welcome to the portal, where myths, nightmares, and mysteries are just one step away. My name is Epoch, and I will be your guide. To preserve the light, we must first face the dark. August 21st, 1945. The war in the Pacific was effectively over, but the research into the power of the atom continued with a frantic, almost careless intensity. A young physicist named Harry Daghlian was working alone in the lab late at night. He was performing a criticality test. The goal was to see how close he could bring the plutonium core to a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction. To do this, he was manually building a wall of tungsten carbide bricks around the sphere. These bricks acted as a mirror, reflecting neutrons back into the core. With every brick he added, the core became more active. As he moved the final brick into place, his monitoring equipment screamed. The core was about to go critical. In a moment of panic, Daghlian tried to pull the brick away, but it slipped from his hand. It fell directly on the top of the plutonium sphere. The room was instantly bathed in a beautiful, ghostly blue glow. This is known as Cherenkov radiation. To the casual observer, it looks like magic. To a nuclear physicist, it is the color of death. Daghlian reached into the blue light and knocked the brick off the core with his bare hand. The reaction stopped. The blue light vanished. In that 1 second, Harry Daghlian had received a lethal dose of radiation. He didn't feel any pain. He didn't feel burnt, but his fate was already sealed at the molecular level. If you have watched this far, remember to subscribe, like, and comment what would you like to see next. What does a lethal dose of neutron radiation actually do? It is not like a poison that can be pumped from the stomach. It is not like a virus that can be fought with medicine. The radiation acts like 1 trillion microscopic bullets. It passes through the body, shattering the DNA strands in every cell it touches. Harry Daghlian walked out of the lab, but he was already a walking ghost. Over the next 25 days, the doctors at Los Alamos watched as his body literally forgot how to be alive. Because his DNA was destroyed, his cells could no longer replicate. His skin began to blister and fall away. His internal organs began to fail, one by one, as the tissues died and could not be replaced. He stayed conscious for most of it. He watched his own hand, the one that had touched the blue light, turn black with gangrene. He was experiencing a total system failure. On the 25th day, Harry Daghlian died. The laboratory directors were shaken, but they did not stop the experiments. They believed the accident was a result of working alone, a procedural error. They didn't realize that the dragon was just getting started.
9 months later, May 21st, 1946, a senior physicist named Louis Slotin was performing a similar test on the same 14-pound sphere. Slotin was a cowboy of the lab. He was famous for his bravery and his reckless confidence. He had performed this test dozens of times. He was using 2 half-spheres of beryllium to enclose the core. He would slowly lower the top shell, bringing the core toward a critical state. To keep the shells from closing completely, which would trigger a nuclear explosion, he used a simple, flathead screwdriver to keep a small gap between them. He was holding the screwdriver by the handle, manually adjusting the gap, while a room full of 7 other scientists watched. The screwdriver slipped. The shells slammed shut. The blue flash filled the room once again. The heat was immediate. Slotin felt a sour taste in his mouth, a common symptom of intense radiation exposure. He reached out and jerked the 2 shells apart, stopping the reaction and likely saving the lives of the other 7 men in the room. He turned to his colleagues and said, "Well, that does it." He knew. He had received a dose of radiation far higher than Harry Daghlian. He was a dead man before he even finished the sentence.
Louis Slotin's descent was much faster and much more violent. Within hours, he was vomiting uncontrollably. Within days, his hair began to fall out in clumps. His body was being cooked from the inside out by the energy he had released. The doctors described his condition as a 3-dimensional sunburn, but the burn was inside his lungs, his brain, and his blood. His gastrointestinal tract began to disintegrate. He suffered from internal hemorrhaging that could not be stopped because his bone marrow had been destroyed and could no longer produce platelets. He lived for 9 days. By the end, his body was so swollen and his skin so fragile that he could no longer be touched. He died in a state of total biological chaos. The other 7 men in the room survived, though many suffered from long-term health issues and cancers later in life. But the core, the 14-pound sphere, was now a pariah. The scientists decided that no more manual testing would ever be allowed. They renamed the plutonium the Demon Core. They realized that the margin for error was 0. The core was eventually melted down and its material was recycled into other weapons. but its legend remained as a grim warning for the nuclear age. The story of the demon core is a warning about the nature of power. We live in a world where we have mastered the fundamental forces of the universe. We have unbound the energy of the stars, but we are still biological beings, fragile and defined by the very DNA that the blue flash destroys so easily. We tread in the darkness of this history to remind ourselves that knowledge requires humility. We think we are the masters of the atom, but the dragon is always there, waiting for a hand to slip or a screwdriver to fall. The demon core is gone, but the invisible fire is still here. It is in our power plants, our medical labs, and our silos. It is a silent, constant, and indifferent force. The next time you see a blue light in the distance or hear the high-pitched chirp of a radiation detector, remember Louis Slotin, remember Harry Daghlian, and remember that some gates were never meant to be tickled. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this journey into the cold horror of the demon core important, subscribe to the channel and join our community. Good night, and be aware of the blue flash.
Let us now step back into the portal and go to our segment of time and space. If you would like to see a longer video about what we went through today, or if you would like to see another specific video, leave it in the comments. Feel free to check any of our previous voyages on screen. My name was Epoch, and I will see you again on one side or the other. Farewell.